All right, so things to avoid in general. I already mentioned this, but jargon or art theory. Only include these things. One, if you know for a fact that everyone in your audience is going to understand it, and two, if it has a direct bearing on your art or your practice. And sometimes that's called like art speak, right? Just avoid anything that a general audience is not going to understand unless you're sure your audience will. Avoid an argumentative tone. This is really a hard thing for some people because a lot of us make music or art that we feel very passionately about, and sometimes it is on like ideas or concepts that can be considered controversial. And so it's really easy to sound argumentative because of the ideas we're talking about. So try to read it as someone who might believe differently than you. Try to read it with different eyes when you're in the review process, and make sure that it doesn't come across as argumentative. Avoid vague terms or philosophical generalizations. So something that comes up frequently is the word spiritual. Absolutely fine to use that word if that's how you feel about your art, but be as specific as you can, because spiritual can mean a wide variety of things. So tell me what you mean when you use the word spiritual or any other sort of general term. Be just as specific as you can, always. Extreme binaries, because again, these they sound like they're talking about specific things, but when you actually examine them, they're basically talking about everything, right? So examining both interior and exterior spaces, that's everything, right? Both casual and formal, light and dark, blurring between text and subtext. So try to avoid those sorts of things. That's something that comes up in artist statements quite a bit. Another thing is false range. So like if you do have a diverse background, saying my practice ranges from drawing to dance, well, that's not an actual continuum, but you're creating a continuum between things that don't exist on a spectrum. There's not like a wide variety of things that are linked together between those two things, if that makes sense. So you're just creating a continuum where one doesn't exist. Instead, you could say my practice includes drawing, dance, or draws from drawing, comma, dance, comma, sculpture, and video, right? And then cliches. So like time heals all wounds, or read between the lines, something like that. Try to avoid any cliche. And then the last thing, and I've already mentioned this, but avoid telling your audience how to feel. Don't go that far in your document to sort of explain what the reaction should be. You're just talking about your why you make it, how you make it, and what it is you make, and try not to go that extra step of too clearly defining what the audience should feel upon viewing your work or listening to your work.